So it was March 1998, which means it was approximately 1 month before my 16th birthday. And here's the thing about growing up as a teenager on the Lake of the Ozarks. Wakeboarding was my life. Everything revolved around wakeboarding. Now, I know I shared with you all a wakeboarding story a few weeks ago, that time when I went in the air and did a backflip with a twist, and I came down wrong and my femur snapped in half. This is a different story. And if you're a bit fuzzy on wakeboarding, just think about snowboarding, except you're on the water being pulled behind a boat. Now, the thing about Missouri in March is that it's still just a bit too cold to get in the water. So what me and my friends would do during the winter months and those early spring weeks, we would tie a ski rope onto the tree next to the trampoline. Some of you see exactly where this is going. Now, keep in mind, this is the 90s. Before the days when you had trampolines that you have today with those big, beautiful nets coming up to protect kids from falling off, and you have that really nice, thick padding to go around the metal and the springs. Man, we didn't have any of that. We had the black thing to jump on and the springs and the metal bars. So I had been working my way up in my mind to do a speedball. You know what a speedball is? I was going to be the first among my friends to land a speedball. A speedball is where you go up in the air and you do a double front flip and ideally land on your board. I mean, this is how we got our practice on the trampoline on the off season. So I strap in my board. I get on the trampoline, I grab the rope, and I'm jumping higher and higher, and I have my buddy there next to the trampoline. Roy is cheering me on. And I get higher and higher and higher, and finally I go for it, the double front flip, the speedball. And the problem is I had just a little too much speed because I did a speedball and a quarter, and I came down right on my face, smacking against the metal and the springs. And next thing I know, I was coming to in Lake Regional Hospital in the ER, which was about 1.5 miles from my house. And a doctor, when I come to, my friend Roy is sitting next to me, and the doctor is sitting across from me, and he starts bombarding me with questions. And his first question was, well, when did this happen? And I said, I don't know, I assume just a few minutes ago, that's why I'm here. And Roy pipes up, bro, it wasn't a few minutes ago, it was a couple of hours ago. And I'm thinking to myself, because there was a mirror in that room and I could see my face, it's black and blue, my eyes barely hanging on, and it looks like I had just stumbled off the scene of Walking Dead. And I'm thinking, Roy, why did it take you 2 hours to get me 1.5 miles? And then the doctor asked me another question. He says, do you remember what happened? What were you doing? I said, man, I don't know. I think I was jumping on a trampoline. I must have fallen off. Roy starts talking again with all his wisdom. He says, bro, you weren't just jumping on the trampoline, you were doing a speedball. And I said, what in the heck is a speedball? And he says, bro, how do you not remember what a speedball is? It's like all you've been talking about for the past few weeks. And he starts explaining to me and the doctor what a speedball is, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, dang, that's kind of cool. You mean I did that? Ryan did the double front flip? So, Roy, did I land it? No, not really, bro. I mean, your face just hit the springs and the metal really hard, and it was really cool because you just laid there for a minute, and then you got up like nothing happened. That's why I didn't bring you here. Long story short, the doctor tells me that I broke my eye socket bone. He said I had a pretty good concussion going on, so I needed to sleep sitting up for a while. And then he said this, I'm not kidding. He said, don't cough or sneeze too hard or else your eye's going to fall out. Which is always good to know. Always good to know that. But here's what was so profound about that day. Because from that moment on, my friends and family had to take me on a tour of my life. And see, from that moment on, post-concussion on, all I had was the present moment. I didn't have the past, and I didn't have the future. It was like everything was being made new. And the present moment was full of awe and wonder. Man, what happened again? Dude, the speedball. Hey, what's a speedball? Ah, See, things like anxiety and fear and worry, they live in the future. And things like regret, see, that lives in the past. And what I've learned is the best place to live is right here in the present moment, because this moment, right here, right now with all of you, this moment is full of depth and dimension. And this moment, if we let it, it is full of a bunch of speedballs. And so here's what Jesus says in his Sermon on the Mount, chapter 6. He's got this crowd of people standing around him, and he says this: "Therefore I say to you, don't worry about your life, what you'll eat or what you'll drink, or about your body, what you'll wear. Isn't life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds in the sky. They don't sow seed or harvest grain or gather crops in the barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you worth much more than they are? Who among you by worrying can add a single moment to your life? Therefore stop worrying about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." And you see, the problem is, many of us, we just don't know how to live right here in the present moment. We get all caught up in the past, and we try to carry around these regrets, and they cause guilt and shame, and it all starts to get really, really heavy. Or we start jumping into the future, and we're overwhelmed with the future because we're trying to figure everything out. And what happens is we just start to do more and more tasks, and we live without intention, and we begin to find our value in fulfilling those tasks, or we begin to find our only value in working harder and doing more, and it's just not very satisfying, is it? And see, what I've learned is the best medicine for worry and fear and anxiety and regrets, the best medicine is always gratitude. It's true. It's always gratitude. Man, it was just a few weeks ago when on that particular night I was in Florida, and I was getting all worked up about this situation in my mind. Oh man, I was getting so worked up about this thing. And Sam, she talked about emojis and how we got to name it. And so this was my emoji on that night. I was just the angry guy. And see, the thing about that night is the worry and the anxiety, it just kept growing. And the regrets of the past, they just kept growing, and everything was growing together. And so it was about 1 a.m, and I called a friend of mine, and I said, "Man, it's not going well. I'm in my head, and I can't get out of my head, and it's starting to get real messy." And you know those moments where you think to yourself, if this moment doesn't change, then things are going to go south really quickly. That's what it felt like. And so I'm talking things out with him, and we get to the end of the conversation, and he says, "Are you open for a suggestion?" I said, "I think so." He says, "Are you getting ready for bed?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm going to try." He said, "Before you go to sleep, put pen to paper and write down 3 things that you're grateful for." Man, I don't want to do that. Because see, it takes energy to get from the head to the heart. I don't want to do that right now. And so I hang up the phone, and I start to write. But by golly, I'm only doing 3 things, because he said I only had to do 3. But just like that anxiety and fear and regret and worry, just like it was growing, when I started to write, that list of gratitude started to grow. And here it is, 1:30 in the morning, and I'm texting people, thanking them for being in my life and thanking them for what they've given me. And that list, it just kept growing. And what I can tell you is in that moment, I was saved. In that single moment, I was saved from the fear, the worry, the anxiety, the regret, and I was saved by gratitude. Because see, gratitude, it has a way of keeping us rooted in the present. And I don't want to miss the present. I've got kids. I don't want to miss these moments, and gratitude keeps us present. And see, gratitude, it has a way of keeping the awe factor alive and kicking. If we let it, gratitude just keeps creating speedballs. It's no longer just pizza with friends on a Sunday night. It's pizza with friends on a Sunday night, and I get to do this. I get to be in relationship with others. I get to participate You see, gratitude says your whole life is a gift, and you can't afford to miss it. You can't miss it. So here's what I want to invite you to do. Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and we're just going to breathe for a moment. So take a big, deep breath in. It's called inhaling. And hold it for a moment, and after you exhale, let's say together, my life is a gift. Exhale. My life is a gift. And take another big, deep breath in. And after we exhale, let's say together, this moment is a gift. Let it out. This moment is a gift. One more big, deep breath in. Feel your body move. And after you exhale, let's say together, this is grace. Exhale. This is grace.